What's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen at a party? NSFW. They served a Sauvignon Blanc with steak and roasted potatoes. Once at a family party I saw two deaf men signing to each other, but at the same time getting much drunker. The signs just became slower and blurrier and the last I saw of them they were just hugging. A girl charging $10 a pop to let guys eat her pussy. There was a crowd of like 15 guys taking turns and cheering each other on. I'm like, WTF, I don't think you guys understand how prostitution works. Went to a friend's house party around 7 years ago. There were at least 100 people in a 2 up 2 down house. Most people in a room witnessing a girl attempting to fit a pretty big telescope in her pussy. It was messed up. As the party was winding down, my friend was passed on the sofa. He suddenly got up making some grunting sounds. Proceeded to stumble right round the coffee table in front of him and back to the couch. He then pulled down his jeans and boxers and sat back down. The sound of runny turd squelching between his ass and that leather couch will haunt me for the rest of my life. We were having a party at our house and one of the guests got a little out of hand. He started breaking beer bottles on the floor and dancing in the shards of glass in his bare feet. The dance floor cleared and a circle formed around him, watching as he began rolling around on the floor cutting himself on the glass. One of my housemates started yelling at him to get out and he turned to her and said, "Stop censoring my art." I was at my friend's place, with maybe 15 other people drinking, and at that time, the McRib was back. This one guy Rob had brought one with him and devoured it, probably in under 30 seconds. About 10 minutes later, he went wide-eyed and began to regurgitate it, in one piece, roughly the same size and shape as the original McRib he had just eaten, but reconstituted out of McRib pulp pasted together with Busch Light. It landed on his stomach and sat there for a second until someone went, "Hey, the McRib is back." Two people with Down syndrome ducking in front of a crowd of people. Two drunk girls just beating the it out of this one jack dude. The story afterwards was that he was cheating on both of them at the same time and they met at the party when it all came out. Sorority girl making out with the drunk passed out carcass of a fraternity guy. For like 10 minutes. He literally did not move at all. After she left to go dance again, 4 of his buddies had to carry him out. A girl was giving another girl a lap dance and sucking on titties and whatnot. Then she totally sneezed. I drunkenly called out, "Oh my god. She just sneezed on your tits." And it really ruined the moment. Was at a party in high school. It was a pretty big party. People everywhere. I walk into the laundry room to a large group of people. About 15. They were all huddled around a dog kennel with a large bloodhound and 2 collars inside. They were laughing hysterically, yelling about some kind of initiation. Perplexed, I asked what this initiation was. Then one guy who I don't think I had even met before proceeded to pull his pants down past his ass and press his cheeks against the metal cage. The dogs all happily licked this kid's ass. I turned around and walked out. Weirded. Don't even know what this initiation was for. Drunk girl fell down a flight of stairs to the basement at a party, landed face first on a pile of hardwood scraps and gashed her face pretty good. Reverted to speaking Spanish. She was visiting from Mexico and refused the idea of calling an ambulance. She ended up fine the next day from what I heard, but looked pretty bruised from the pics I saw. She was drunk in the kitchen and went to lean on the wall. But there was a doorway where she thought the wall was, and she just kind of disappeared mid-conversation with someone. It was funny for about 2 seconds. Then we heard her land on the wood pile and we all rushed to help her. It was my father's 25+ years with his co-workers party in our backyard. One guy had a motorcycle accident a year prior and this was his first party out of his bed he was in for 12 months. Promptly chugged along with everyone until he's having such a good time and obviously buzzed that he stands up off his wheelchair, propping himself with his forearms onto his 2 feet so fast everyone stood agape until he fell forward onto the table full of 40 beer bottles a half second later. Then it was laughter and good times rolling for these guys until sunrise next morning. He had forgotten he was handicapped among his buddies. Edit. Wow, this went all the way to the top. Thanks guys. I'll be sure to let my pops know to tell his bud that his story is a source of inspiration for others in the same rough patch. A drunk naked guy holding a weasel singing happy birthday to it. Stay clear of Everclear. A girl hitting her pants. Nobody knew her really. She was just there, unleashing the dark bomb and left crying. Never saw her again. A couple went to a bedroom to duck, but they left 10 minutes later because two guys were hiding in the dark jerking off to them ducking. I've posted the full story before. My friend had a hernia that protruded into his nutsack. So know it. His nutsack was between the size of a baseball and softball. He pulled it out in the middle of a party and the room went silent. One of my friends turned up to a party in his original Mini, something like this. He got completely wasted and didn't want to drive home. So rather than take a taxi, he pushed his car the whole 3-mile journey. Watched a midget do a keg stand in college. The ridiculous part was when he landed back on his feet. His eyes immediately rolled to the back of his head and he passed out. He fell backwards like a board and smacked his head on the floor. He looked dead for a few seconds and several people circled around him. When he finally opened his eyes, everyone yelled and cheered. Seemed like a movie. Group of us, ages 17-19, around a bonfire drinking beers and girls start asking dudes truth or dare questions. Things start heating up and sexual tension is building up until my buddy asks this drunk girl who chose truth what her craziest masturbation story was. She tells us that midway through finger banging herself she let a German Shepherd mount her and she came. Killed the mood that was set because she started bawling when one of the guys called her a dog ducker and the rest of the girls tried to take care of her. TL. DR cock blocked by bestiality story. A pregnant girl drinking and doing lines of coke. After reading this thread, I realized I have an amazingly normal life. A horse just chilling in the kitchen of a high-rise apartment in Manhattan. A girl was giving butt naked lap dances for money. She was probably a stripper. She was straddling my friend and I saw some period blood dropping on his chest. We threw some singles at her so she would keep going because that's what friends are for. High school keg party featuring Nirvana cover band. Everybody's in the backyard. Big chain link fence across the back of the yard. When the cops come, all 50 kids hit that back fence simultaneously and try to jump over it and run away. Fence falls over from the weight. A crush of screaming. Drunken juvenile humanity. I was 21 so I stayed with the keg. More for me. One of my college roommates brought his 16-year-old younger brother up to school for a weekend of partying. Not the most responsible decision. But hey, college. Anyways, we take him to a frat party and about an hour in, I walk in on him making out with a girl in the garage as if he did it for a living. He was out there for about 30 minutes and comes back in alone and joins us. He then finds this other girl and says verbatim, "So, I just made out with this girl for 30 minutes. Think you can beat that?" They then walked away back to the garage. Most impressive move and most ridiculous working pickup line I've seen pulled off by anyone. This girl that was a friend of a friend that nobody else really knew was clearly on something and was pretty out of it. We are all sitting around having a good time. When out of nowhere this girl stands up, walks to the refrigerator, opens the crisper drawer, which had a couple bananas in it, pulls down her pants and proceeds to squat and piss in the crisper. Nobody stopped her when we saw what was going on because I think we were all in shock and couldn't really believe this was actually happening. Other friend that was trying to get with her tried to calm the situation by grabbing a banana that had just been pissed on and peels it and eats it to show there is nothing wrong with them. Later in the night that girl gave a blowy to a third friend in the backyard. One dude ate the 7-layer bean dip with only his hands. Watched someone butt chug a beer through a funnel. Then watched an unaware bystander come over and funnel a beer through the same funnel. However, the two, both guys, ended up hooking up later in life. This party had got really out of control. People were drawing all over the walls with markers. The host was crying act. But the funniest thing I saw was when I walked by the kitchen. There were about 6 people gathered around the microwave, drumming their hands on the counter and keeping a low chant of ooh, and then there was a loud pop. Everybody cheered and then they opened the microwave and put more eggs in. At one Halloween party I watched one dude who was wearing Misfits face paint drop one of those spinner fireworks into a can of beer. which it burned through quite quickly, creating a cloud of noxious smoke in an unventilated room. Started firing Roman candles at some teens hanging out down the block from the house the party was at. Almost got his ass kicked. And, slowly over the course of the evening, smudged his makeup and became a panda. There was this big old college football player playing beer pong and getting pretty drunk. After missing a throw, he was still whining the game, mind you. He turned around, let out this primal yell, and punched a hole clean through the wall. He felt so bad that he had someone drive him to Home Depot, bought spackle and paint, and spent the next couple hours drunkenly repairing the fist hole with the demeanor of a sad puppy with its tail tucked between its legs. The first and only time I went to a kegger in college. On my 18th birthday, I had my beer, and was sitting in the backyard of the party house with my friend, when there were 3 loud knocks at the door. My friend and I were in a corner with our backs to fence, so we just sat our beers in the grass behind us. But all these other kids start flipping out. I'm sitting there watching as they're all dumping out their beers. This one kid has a full bottle of whiskey on him and he just pours it out on the grass without a moment of hesitation, the whole bottle. Then the host goes to answer the door, and it's just a couple already drunk girls who thought it would be funny to knock like they were the cops. TLDR kids poured out a good $40 worth of beer and another $40 of hard liquor because they thought they were getting busted. But it was just a prank. Halloween party in college. We basically moved all the furniture out of the house and had just one big open space. Tons of people there. Living room was a dance floor with a DJ. Everyone is having a great time, and then all of a sudden a man comes running into our house in a full KKK costume. Followed by, you guessed right, a group of black guys. The DJ turns off the music. My roommates and I have to jump in the situation. We split the guys up and the guy in the KKK costume rips off his mask and yells, "I'm black. I'm black." He really was black. The angry group of black guys didn't care about his skin color. We had to explain to them that we did not know this man. Neither did anyone at the party. We had to let the KKK guy out the back door and the black guys out the front. Not sure what happened after that. Thank God they did not murder this man in my house. Party in an apartment our senior year of college. We were very heavily imbibing all sorts of alcohol in a race format. Well, one of the rules was if you puked, your team, 3 people in total, were disqualified. One of the kids, easily the most insane drunk I've ever met, pukes in the kitchen sink. As a joke we say if he eats it they won't be disqualified. God as my witness, he scoops up a handful and downs it. Immediately 5 of us run downstairs, outside into the snow and puke. To his credit, he didn't puke again and kept drinking. That image is etched in all of our minds. House party in college. In the middle of nowhere. We are talking like 45 minutes into the mountain. 1-lane roads. Uphill. Super sketchy. We get there and there are over 200 people. Big house. 2nd story deck. DJ was rocking out. They are charging $3 a drink. Merry-o-lay time. My buddy grabs me midway into the party to take me on the deck to party. That's where the DJ and facing was. I go out and starting shaking my groove thing and realize the deck is moving up and down with the music. I run back inside and tell my friends not to go on that deck. No more than 2 minutes after I say that, screaming, crunching, crying, breaking glass, I look at the deck and just see people's arms go up as the deck collapses and falls a story onto 2 cars. The kid who threw the party got sued, as he rented the house for the weekend. My friend broke his ankle, but no one died I know of.